welcome back to the deep dive. We sift through all the noise, the sources, the research, and give you the inside track. Today, we're tackling something pretty huge, monumental, really. Not just because of the story itself, but the sheer weight behind the production. We're diving into Christopher Nolan's next big film, his adaptation of Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey. So, our mission today, get past the headlines. We want to really unpack what the sources are telling us. We're talking cast, plot, the production, timeline, and maybe most importantly, this kind of wild buzz around the whole strategy. Okay, let's unpack this. Because this isn't just, Nolan's follow-up to Oppenheimer. This feels like something else, like he's aiming to set a new standard.
It's fascinating, isn't it? I mean, the source material, Homer's Odyssey, composed maybe, 8th or 7th century BCE, it's foundational.
Absolutely.
And to see it being handled by Nolan, especially right now, and with his known insistence on, the 70mm IMAX experience, it's a real statement. Ancient story meets peak modern cinematech.
And speaking of statements, that brings us right to what the sources are screaming about, the immediate moment. It's not the cast, surprisingly, or even the plot basics.
No.
It's this, frankly, unprecedented move by Universal and IMAX about the tickets. That's the detail that really got everyone talking.
Yes. That. When you look at how the industry usually works, it's bold. Maybe even a bit shocking.
Right.
The idea that 70mm tickets went on sale, not just a bit early, but a full year before the release date in July 2026, that's practically unheard of.
A whole year.
It signals this incredible calculated confidence. Usually you only see that kind of thing with a massive established franchise sequel, Marvel or Star Wars maybe.
But here
it feels like Nolan himself is the franchise. His name carries that weight now.
Okay, so let's just lock down the basics first before we get deeper into that strategy.
Yeah.
The film title is confirmed, The Odyssey.
Simple, classic.
Directed by Christopher Nolan, obviously, Oscar winner now. And produced, as always, with his wife and partner, Emma Thomas, their production company, Syncopy.
Their stamp is clearly on this.
But right down to the release date, July 17th, 2026. Mark your calendars.
And that date is key, isn't it? Mid-July.
Oh, absolutely. That's prime real estate. In industry terms, that's the summer tentpole slot. The movie the studio is banking on to carry the year, basically, needs big numbers, needs to be everywhere.
And to make sure it is everywhere and seen the right way, they pull this ticket stunt. 70mm tickets on sale July 2025.
It feels like more than just getting early cash flow, doesn't it? It feels ideological, almost, like a declaration.
Declaration against what? Streaming?
Yeah, partly that. The sources call it an unprecedented initiative, and it does a few things strategically. First, it locks in sales for the premium format way, way in advance.
So it frames the narrative immediately. This must be seen big.
Exactly. They're telling you a year out. This is an event. Don't wait for it to hit your TV. Don't even think about watching it on your phone.
If you think about cinema post-pandemic, trying to lure people back, this is Universal, likely pushed by Nolan's vision, saying the theatrical experience is paramount for this film.
It's a flex, really. Massive studio confidence, but also it kind of messes with the usual marketing playbook, right? Normally we wouldn't even expect a trailer for months.
Precisely. Usually the big campaign kicks off maybe 6 months out. This is different. It's selling the promise, the scale, the director's name, long before showing much footage.
But isn't that a huge risk, banking so much so early? If the film, doesn't quite deliver on that epic promise, the backlash could be pretty intense.
It is a risk, a calculated one, clearly. The sources suggest the studio believes Nolan's take on this epic will deliver that scale. They're leveraging the reputation he built, especially with Dunkirk and Oppenheimer, where the format itself was almost a character.
Okay.
They're betting the sheer ambition, visually and technically, is enough to make people commit, sight unseen almost, based purely on that Nolan IMAX promise.
Well, that level of confidence, that kind of bet, it demands one hell of a cast to back it up.
Which brings us to maybe the most jaw-dropping part of the announcement so far, the cast list.
This is where it gets really interesting, yeah. Especially if you follow who's who in Hollywood. The sheer number of big names is staggering.
It's like a fantasy football team of actors. It suggests a certain philosophy, I think, every single person Odysseus meets on that decade-long trip home, even if it's a brief encounter in the poem, is going to be played by someone who immediately grabs your attention, a recognizable star or a really strong character actor.
Okay, let's start at the core. The father and son, Matt Damon, is Odysseus.
Good casting.
He's got that blend, right? Resourceful, capable, but you can see the exhaustion, the trauma behind the eyes. Perfect for someone coming off 10 years of brutal war at Troy.
Totally. And then you have Tom Holland as his son, Telemachus.
Which is fascinating casting.
It really is. A great generational dynamic. Damon is the past, the hero carrying all that baggage. Holland is the sort of impatient present. Grew up without a dad, dealing with chaos at home. Wants to step up, but maybe isn't ready.
Sets up a lot of potential drama right there. But then, beyond them, the ensemble is just... wow.
No, go on.
We've got Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Lupita Nyong'o, Robert Pattinson, Charlize Theron, John Bernthal. I mean, just that group alone could carry a massive film.
Absolutely. That's an A-list movie right there. But then you look at the rest of the confirmed list.
Yeah, get this. Benny Safdie, John Leguizamo, Elliot Page, Himesh Patel, Bill Irwin, Samantha Morton, Mia Goth, Corey Hawkins, Logan Marshall Green.
It keeps going, and you have to ask why. Why pack it so deep? Some of these characters in the original story are, crew members who don't make it back or minor figures.
So what does that density of talent suggest to you about how Nolan's structuring this?
Well, it implies that maybe those minor encounters won't feel so minor. If you had actors of this caliber, even in smaller roles, it means every episode of the journey, the Lotus Eaters, Circe, the Sirens, Calypso, will have real dramatic punch.
Less focus on just spectacle, more on intense character moments, maybe.
That's what it feels like. Like he wants the human cost, the psychological toll of that journey to be felt constantly. He's populating this mythical world with very grounded, specific performances.
So the cast list itself is kind of a clue. It's signaling that the personal drama is going to be just as vital as the, fighting monsters part.
Exactly. The emotional journey is getting equal billing with the mythological one.
Okay, let's talk about that journey then. The plot. The sources are calling it an epic fantasy drama.
Which sounds about right.
But the challenge is, well, everyone knows the story basically. We know Odysseus gets home eventually. So how does Nolan, who loves playing with time and expectation, make that feel fresh or surprising?
That's the big question, isn't it? Nolan's signature is often messing with chronology, perspective. The Odyssey itself isn't strictly linear. Odysseus tells a lot of his story in flashback when he reaches Phoenicia.
Right, recounting his adventures.
So I'd anticipate Nolan leaning into that nonlinearity, maybe even more aggressively than Homer did. We might jump between time periods, viewpoints.
So we could see, Odysseus battling the Cyclops intercut directly with Penelope trying to send off suitors back in Ithaca, showing the 10 years of suffering happening in parallel.
Precisely. That seems very Nolan-esque. The core goal is simple. Odysseus wants to get home to his family after the Trojan War. But the film's power will likely come from how it balances those two main conflicts the Thasses point to.
Conflict 1, the mythological journey home.
Yeah, the big spectacle moments. Facing the Cyclops, navigating Scylla and Charybdis, dealing with the wrath of Poseidon, the sea god. That's where the 70mm IMAX format really comes into play, you'd imagine.
Which raises that other classic Nolan question.
Yeah.
How does he do it? We know he prefers practical effects, huge physical sets.
He built a real town for Oppenheimer, sank real ships for Dunkirk.
Exactly. So how does he create a believable, terrifying Cyclops? Or show the literal anger of a sea god without just resorting to tons of CGI?
If he sticks to his guns, it won't be purely digital. Maybe some incredible large-scale puppetry, forced perspective, massive environmental effects.
Yeah.
Something tangible and frightening on that huge screen.
That tension, ancient myth realized through modern practical filmmaking techniques, that's super exciting.
It really is. But while that journey is happening, Nolan also has to nail the second conflict, the domestic crisis back home in Ithaca.
Yeah, Penelope and Telemachus basically under siege in their own palace, surrounded by dozens of suitors who assume Odysseus is dead, eating his food, trying to marry Penelope, seize the throne.
It's pure political drama, marital tension. Requires serious acting chops from Damon, Holland, and whoever plays Penelope, which hasn't been announced yet, I don't think.
No, not specifically for Penelope.
That domestic storyline is what grounds the epic. It's the why behind Odysseus's desperate journey. And the sources confirm the film builds towards that famous climax.
Odysseus finally gets back, but he's disguised as a beggar.
Right. He infiltrates his own home, assesses the situation, and then confronts the suitors. It's this incredibly tense, violent, personal reckoning.
It's brilliant in the poem because the scale shifts dramatically. From gods and monsters to a brutal fight in a locked dining hall.
Yeah.
How do you think Nolan will balance those two things, the vast mythical scope with that intense, almost claustrophobic human drama at the end.
Well, if anyone can handle shifting tones and managing tension on multiple levels, it's him, right? That final confrontation needs to feel just as dangerous, just as high stakes as facing Poseidon.
And with this cast.
With this cast, the emotional payoff of that reunion and that reclaiming of his life could be really powerful. It leverages the intimate core that was always there in Homer's story.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. Synthesize the key takeaways for everyone listening. So what does this all really mean?
Well, bottom line. Christopher Nolan is tackling the Odyssey. Matt Damon as Odysseus. Tom Holland as Telemachus. It's coming July 17th, 2026.
But it's way more than just those facts. The whole approach feels strategic, calculated.
Yeah, the context is huge here. You've got Nolan's reputation, his demand for that 70mm IMAX experience, plus this unprecedented early ticket sales strategy. It's positioning the film not just as another blockbuster, but as a genuine cultural event.
Merging one of the oldest stories we have with the absolute cutting edge of movie technology and exhibition.
Exactly. It's a massive statement about the power, the necessity maybe, of seeing certain stories in a true cinema environment.
It's like they're saying, the art demands this format and the director's vision is so compelling you will plan for it a year in advance.
Pretty much. That early ticket sale, what does it signal about the future? Maybe in an age where franchises feel a bit tired?
Yeah.
The strongest brand, the biggest draw, is actually the director themselves. An auteur with a distinct, uncompromising vision. Maybe that's the most bankable thing in Hollywood now.
A single director's name having that much power.
Wow. It seems that way. It's definitely a shift in how films like this are anticipated, marketed, and even sold.
Okay, so we'll leave you with this thought to chew on. Nolan loves practical effects, right? Tangible reality on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about all the crazy mythical stuff in the Odyssey, the Sirens song, the trip to the underworld, the Cyclops, which specific element are you most curious or maybe even anxious to see how Nolan and his team bring it to life physically, practically, on that enormous 70mm canvas?
That's a good question. It's hard to pick just one.
Definitely something to think about while we wait until July 2026, which suddenly feels very far away.
It'll be worth the wait, I suspect, to see if the execution matches the immense ambition.
We shall see. Thanks for diving in with us today. We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.